From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to a Friday edition of Creature Guide Live Daily News. I will have random articles thrown at me, so let's throw up the first one and dive right into it. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. So from phys.org, see. Oh. ah, Oh, it's jeez. Ah, A Gru Jay, rare hybrid bird identified in Texas. Well, this was unexpected. Huh. That is quite interesting. A rare hybrid bird identified in a suburb of San Antonio, Texas. Biologists at the University of Texas at Austin, who have reported discovering a bird that's the natural result of a green jay and a blue jay's mating, say it may be among the first examples of a hybrid animal that exists because of recent changing patterns in the climate. The two different parent species are separated by 7 million years of evolution. I didn't know this about these specific jays. I do also not so familiar with this specific family that they belong to. However, just in case many didn't know, blue jay the color pigment of the blue jay's feathers is actually brown and not so much blue. That's just what it looks like during the daytime. Well, you can slightly tell the blue on their feathers. The two different parents, I said that, and their ranges didn't overlap as recently as a few decades ago. We think it's the first observed vertebrate that's hybridized as a result of two species both expanding their ranges, due at least in part to climate change. I didn't mean to finish that, but okay.
How does something go from blue and gray to green?
Uh, who is this? Because it's UT. I always have to spit that in. University of Texas. So Stokes noted that past vertebrate hybrids have resulted from human activity, like the introduction of invasive species. Yeah, but this is all of a sudden with both their ranges happen to collide with each other. But I'm also not too familiar with this specific bird species. I mean, the blue jay, yes, but they inhabit much of the eastern United States. Not so much whoever the one on. Oh, let's see. Um, the recent expansion of one species range to another's, think polar bears and grizzlies. Grizzlies and polar bears have been interacting with each other for hundreds of thousands of years. This isn't new. The polar bear, or the you could say that polar bear and grizzly bear mixing is extremely rare. Like a couple of individuals, maybe a year at least have been spotted. And varies from year to year. But this case appears to have occurred when shifts in weather patterns spur the expansion of both parent species. Also, you have it where there are specific subspecies of grizzly bear that occur in the more northern parts of areas like um, Alaska, different parts of the Nunavut territories of Canada, the northern territory islands. Let's see, some I believe have ventured possibly over into Greenland occasionally, but not too often, and obviously northern Russia. So, anyway, in the 1950s, the ranges of green jays, a tropical bird found across Central America, extended just barely up from Mexico into South Texas. And the range of blue jays, a temperate bird living all across the eastern U.S., only extended about as far west as Houston. Um, Interesting. So, for some reason in the 50s, they happened to reach that area. That's interesting. They almost never came into contact with each other, but since then, as Green Jays have pushed north and Blue Jays have pushed west, their ranges have converged around San Antonio. Oh, here's a map. Oh, wow. I wonder if these are specifically colored Blue Jays and Green Jays. So it's just another species of jay. Interesting. Well, okay. What it meant by South Texas, I know that this occurred over in San Antonio, which is towards like the very southern region of central Texas. But I was expecting like not really much further than the McAllen region, just sticking across just north of the border. And this is talking about all of South Texas. So this is quite interesting. Um, as a PhD candidate studying green jays in Texas, Stokes was in the habit of monitoring several social media sites where birders share photos of their sightings. Yeah, it's amazing how many of those there are. It was one of several ways he located birds to trap, take blood samples for genetic analysis, and release unharmed back to the wild. One day, he saw a grainy photo of an odd looking blue bird with a blue mask and white chest posted by a woman in a suburb northeast of San Antonio. Oh, it's even northeast of the city. It was vaguely like a blue jay, but clearly different. The backyard birder invited Stokes to her house to see it firsthand. The first day we tried to catch it, but it was really uncooperative. But the second day we got lucky. The bird got tangled in a mist net, basically a long rectangular mesh of black nylon threads stretched between two poles that is easy for a flying bird to overlook as it's soaring through the air, focused on some destination beyond. Stokes caught and released dozens of other birds. So before his quarry finally blundered to his nest on the second day. Wow, so there were several attempts, and apparently they were catching possibly as much as 100 birds. So let's see. Stokes took a quick blood sample of this strange bird, banded its leg to help relocate it in the future, and then let it go. Interestingly, the bird disappeared for a few years and then returned to the woman's yard in June 2025. That's not surprising. This actually happens with quite a few animals often.
How
It's
did she
possible.
know? Is it still bandaged?
It's very possible. I don't know how long those specific tags, if it's talking about, oh, not a tag, the bandage on its leg. I was thinking one of those tags they use for birds. It's not clear what was so special about her yard. Hmm. I don't know what it was, but it was kind of like random happenstance. I was thinking maybe the habitat was very preferable in the region, or maybe it had access to some certain seeds, maybe insects. If it had gone 2 houses down, probably would never have been reported anywhere. Let's see. So, the bird is a male hybrid offspring of a green jay mother and a blue jay father. That makes it like another hybrid that researchers in the 1970s brought into being by crossing a green jay and a blue jay in captivity. Huh. That taxidermically preserved bird looks much like the one it's dead? What are we about that? Hybridization is probably way more common. Okay. Let's see. Koi wolf, you could say those are a bit more common, but the amount of wolf that these koi wolves have, and they tend to be found in, like, the northeastern United States. Um, they might, in some instances, have, like, 15 to possibly 35% wolf DNA, so they are much larger, um, coyotes somewhat, but they are koi wolves. Over in on, Galveston Island, the coyotes so, adjacent to, Houston, the coyotes over there have somewhere around 17% red wolf DNA. So, red wolves, though, I think reach somewhere around 60 to 75 pounds. So those coyote hybrids are somewhat larger than the rest of the population over in Texas for the most part. And I think there are also certain coy wolf hybrids in Louisiana. So I guessing that's it. Well, let's head over to the next one. That was kind of interesting. Didn't expect a Grue Jay. Okay, so from goodnewsnetwork.com, where are we over in Asia? These look like Indian gar. Yep. He's okay. So trail cams leave park officials elated as rare gar seen thriving in forest world's largest bovine. Huh? Thriving in forest world's. The gar is thriving in itself. I'm glad. I hope he's mentally healthy. Okay. So, oh, this was over. I forget. You can find these animals in different parts of Southeastern Asia, not just India. They probably have like one of the largest populations, though, possibly in India. Anyway, so gars they can reach somewhere around 3,500 pounds when referring to the males, and stand like 6'7" in height, so around 2 meters. Thai wildlife officials are heartened by the sight of the world's largest bovine leading her calves down a forest trail. The camera trap footage shows that conservation is working. The gar are reproducing in numbers in the country's Huai Kakaing Forest. I've actually heard of this specific protected area over in Thailand. There are tigers in that there's enough food and habitat to facilitate them, or that. The gar was once widely distributed across South and Southeast Asia, but is today seriously fragmented. They're not the most endangered animal in the region, but yeah, you could say they aren't too common. Nepal, Bhutan, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand all have small populations nestled in evergreen hills and are generally considered vulnerable. The beast remains widely dispersed and in healthy numbers in parts of India, but far away Thailand boasts a lot less space. Nevertheless, the UNESCO listed Huay Kang spans 1.4 million acres. Wow, I didn't realize it was that large, though. And decades of conservation work have made it an enduring refuge for not only gar, but elephants and tigers as well. Wonder what their population is. The nation's Department of National Parks, Wildlife, and Plant Conservation shared camera trap footage of the four animals moving down the trail on Facebook. The largest extent bovines. Okay, now they can get much larger than 2,000 pounds. Even the Betang cattle, which are a native bovid species, which is the same group of animals in which, so these are members of the Artiodactyl family that also animals such as bison and water buffalo belong to. These definitely seem like healthy individuals. The female? She didn't look too heavily built. Okay, well, that's it. It's unfortunate they didn't give us like an estimate on the population of the um, gar within Pakeng Forest over in Thailand. Maybe they don't know, but this would be a bit surprising considering the larger species tend to be somewhat easier to um, get a population estimate on opposed to the smaller species, especially like the sandbar deer in the region. I believe they have cheetah deer in that part of Thailand. Okay, so moving forward from phys.org, in the wild, chimpanzees likely ingest the equivalent of several alcoholic drinks every day. Hmm. So, two male chimpanzees eating the plum-like fruit of the evergreen Pomeranari. So that's the genus of some fruit. The first ever measurements of the ethanol content of fruits available to chimpanzees in their native African habitat. I'm guessing this is probably occurring someplace in maybe the Congo, could be Uganda.
I just thought it looked funny.
Yeah, so this is very west of the Serengeti over in Kenya. So let's see. Show that the animals could easily consume the equivalent of more than two standard alcoholic drinks each day. Yeah, but what's the content? I mean, anyway, see, they're in competition with certain ancient hominids. It's not clear whether they actively seek out fruit with high ethanol levels, which are typically riper fruit with more sugars to ferment. But the availability of ethanol in many species of fruit that they normally eat suggests that alcohol is a regular part of their diet and likely was a part of the diets of our human ancestors. Well, I was just being funny. Across all sites, male and female chimpanzees are consuming about 14 grams of pure ethanol per day in their diet. I don't know if that's a lot, which is the equivalent to one standard American drink. What? What's that supposed to mean? There's like several, to what? Fishes?
There's
You,
all kinds of alcohol, so
well,
I
I
find
hear
it
that's one
funny.
of the worst, but anyway. When you adjust for body mass, because chimps weigh about 40 kilos, or well, okay, that depends on the subspecies of chimp. Certain if you're talking about West African chimps, is it the West? No, no, East African chimps. That could be about right. So around 80, 90 pounds versus a typical human at 40, 70 kilos. Depending on where you are. Okay. It goes up
I
to
think
near,
it's referring to Thailand. Oh, that's not Thailand.
yeah,
I
this
got
is,
confused where we were.
oh, in this part of Africa? Yeah, I guess you could say they're not as large like West Africans. Okay, it goes up to nearly 2 drinks. A standard drink in the US contains 14 grams of ethanol, irrespective of the consumer's body size, although in much of Europe, the standard is 10 grams. Yeah, I've no idea. The 21 species of fruit Morrow sampled at two chimp study sites, Nigogo in Uganda and Tai in Ivory Coast. So Uganda is adjacent to Kenya, whereas Ivory Coast is over in Western Africa, also known as Cote d'Ivoire. It's adjacent to Liberia and Ghana. Anyway, had an average alcohol content of 0.26% by weight. Primatologists who have studied chimps at these sites estimate that the animals consume about 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms of fruit per day. That's wow. Okay. On average, and that fruit makes up about three-quarters of their diet. That's quite astonishing. I did not know this about the chimps. The researchers okay, so this is also occurring, it sounds like, in both, subspecies, the Easter Central African chimp as well as the West African chimp, which can reach somewhere around 125 to 135 pounds. So, let's see. So, what's that, like 60 kilograms? The researchers have also recorded for each site the approximate proportion of each fruit species in the chimp diet. This information allows the Berkeley biologists to calculate an average rate of dietary ethanol consumption. Excuse me. The chimps are eating 5 to 10% of their body weight a day in ripe fruit. So even low concentrations yield a high daily total, a substantial dosage of alcohol. If the chimps are randomly sampling fruit, as did Alexei, then that's going to be their average consumption rate, independent of any preference for ethanol. But if they are preferring riper and or more sugar-rich fruits, then this is a conservative lower limit for the likely rate of ethanol ingestion. Fruit consumption occurs throughout the day, and the chimps show no overt signs of intoxication. In fact, to get a buzz on, a chimp would have to eat so much fruit its stomach would bloat. Sounds like they have a certain type of gene, possibly like certain people do, that allows them to take in a large amount of alcohol, supposedly. But maybe for the chimps, it's even higher. But anyway, let's see. But chronic low-level exposure suggests that the common ancestors of humans and chimps. Okay, that's very far back. Closest living relative among the apes were also exposed daily to alcohol from fermenting fruit. Oh, that's interesting. I thought maybe that was just added on to that prehistoric series, Walking with Beasts. So I guess that is true. A nutrient that is missing from the diets of captive chimps and many humans today. Unless I'm thinking of the first episode.
I thought you told me that, they're not we didn't evolve from them.
We didn't. It's saying it's mentioning there's a common ancestor that have branched off into like the people and then other species of ape. Chimpanzees consume a similar amount of alcohol to what we might if we ate fermented food daily. Human attraction to alcohol probably arose from this dietary heritage of our common ancestor with chimpanzees. Let's see. So that's just him. Okay, so time lapse video from a camera trap set up in Tai National Park in the Ivory Coast in 2021. So this is over in Western Africa. Chimpanzee dubbed Porthos stuffs his mouth with the plum-like fruit of the evergreen tree Parneri excelsa. Among chimps at Tai, this is the most popular food and has the highest alcohol content of all the fruit species sampled.
He came up and looked right in the camera.
So, the drunken monkey hypothesis. Dudley first began to suspect more than 20 years ago that the human appetite for alcohol was inherited from our primate ancestors. Wrote a 2014 book about his theory, The Drunken Monkey: Why We Drink and Abuse Alcohol. This drunken monkey hypothesis drew skepticism from many scientists, particularly those who study primates, who told him that chimps and other primates don't eat fermented fruit or nectar. Interesting. Well, these nutrients typically,
But don't we know that deers get drunk
yeah,
or
deer,
intoxicated?
um, yeah, in some instances, but I haven't, I haven't looked into really like alcohol feeding behavior or drinking behavior to an extent and other mammals. Okay, so particularly, so let's see. These nutrients typically contain alcohol produced by yeast metabolizing sugar, just as yeast ferment sugary grape. juice into wine. But over the years, Dudley's theory has gained an increasing number of adherents. More primatologists now report seeing monkeys and apes eating fermented fruit, a practice that was recorded earlier this year among chimps and Guinea-Bissau. So this is northwest of Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast. This is probably towards the most northern region of the chimpanzee in general, especially the West African chimps. Let's see. Researchers also published papers about captive primates' preferences for alcohol. There's probably somewhere around 30 to 35 thousand West African chimps. Dartmouth University researchers in 2016 reported that when captive aye-ayes, so it's another species of primate, very distantly related to chimps, and slolorises, a bit more close related, I believe, to the aye-aye than chimps, were offered nectar with varying percentages of alcohol. They finished off nectar with the highest alcohol content first, and then repeatedly revisited the empty high alcohol containers as if they wanted more. In 2022, Dudley collaborated with researchers in Panama to document that spider monkeys consume alcohol-laden fermented fruit in the wild and express alcohol metabolites in their urine. So it seems like if it's mentioning slow lorises, aye-ayes, and the spider monkeys, primates just love alcohol. Okay, it's not only mammals that get a daily dose of alcohol from their diet. Well, we've only mentioned primates, but okay. In a paper published earlier this year, Dudley and his Berkeley colleagues reported that the feathers from 10 of 17 bird species tested secondary metabolites of alcohol, indicating that their diet, nectar, grain, insects, and even other vertebrates, included substantial amounts of ethanol. The consumption of ethanol is not limited to primates. It's more characteristic of all fruit-eating animals and, in some cases, nectar-feeding animals. Now, I know it's another mammal, but I wonder if bats have a preference for alcohol, considering they're fruit bats and, also nectar-feeding bats. He said that one theory about why animals seek out ethanol is that its odor helps animals find food with a higher sugar content, providing greater energy returns over time. Alcohol may also may increase the pleasure of eating, similar to sipping wine with dinner. It's also possible that sharing alcohol-infused fruit plays a role in social bonding among primates or other animals. So, sorry, I'm so is this saying that chimps have been Bavarian this entire time?
So is there like a
Or
fruit bar?
they're Scottish? What, are they gonna be drinking whiskey eventually? Or well, maybe that orangutan with Clint Eastwood did. Okay, well,
I think he just drank beer.
oh, okay. It just points to the need for additional federal funding for research into alcohol attraction and abuse by modern humans. What? It likely has a deep evolutionary background. What? Okay. Chimpanzee eating figs at Ngoko in Uganda's Kibale National Park in 2018. That's a lot of fruit. Okay, I don't know. Let me, know in the chat if you know of any other, like, species of mammals, possibly maybe alligators have gotten hold of alcohol. Um, well, actually have a preference for it, and the dogs and cats don't count. Let's see, I've seen Turner and Hooch. Beginning in 2019, Morrow made 2 trips to Ngogo in Uganda's Kibale National Park and one to Tai National Park in Cote d'Ivoire, so Ivory Coast, and Ngogo, which hosts the largest chimpanzee social group in Africa. The chimps climb trees to pluck fruits and prefer several varieties of figs. Morrow and colleagues at Nagogo collected undamaged, freshly fallen fruits from the ground under trees that had recently been foraged by chimps. At Tai, where chimps typically eat fallen fruit, the team collected undamaged and unnibbled fruit from the ground under trees. Okay, let's see. I got a feeling I'm reading the whole study. Oh, okay. So let's see. Do, 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 uh, okay, I think that's really it. Oh, wait. So, um, nah, she's talking about the fruit. Wait a second. This is interesting. Troops of male chimpanzees often gather in the canopy of the F. musco trees to consume fruit before going on boundary patrols of their community. Huh. And the fruit of P. excelsa is also very popular among elephants, which are known to be attracted to alcohol. So probably the forest elephants, maybe in the region, or those. Wait, those possibly bush. Oh, it's not hitting me. This is in what? Trying to go go. Anyway, this was quite interesting. I didn't. I think I had heard of occasionally animals like chimps going after alcohol. Um, Filled fruits, but not to this extent. I mean, this is quite amazing. And they're doing it before they go on patrol. That's interesting. Literally, so even chimps will say, "Hold my beer." Okay, well, let's move to the next one. Okay, so from BangorDailyNews.com, bull moose rescued from well in down East Maine. Oh boy, here this is I haven't heard of this before. Oh, he's a healthy one too. And yeah, this time of year. This is a young bull. What was he, like 3 years old? Especially in Maine. Let's see. So, where was I getting at? Anyway, bull moose was discovered trapped in a well Wednesday. Okay, so bull moose was rescued Wednesday, so it was on the 17th after falling into a hidden old well on private property in Pembroke. Wait, oh, yeah. Okay, Pembroke. I don't know where that is. So that's him. The bull moose rests after being rescued from a well. Oh, we can't read it? Oh, well, this is nice. Wait, how long is this? Wow. I bet he's exhausted. Sheesh. Was that an abandoned well? Glad somebody saw him. And he's off to search for females. Well, I'm glad that he got rescued. I'm going to guess it's at least, a 900-pound bull. It's probably larger. I mean, eastern moose can get to, like, 11, 1,200 pounds. Okay, so moving forward from Reuters.com, Peru researchers unveiled
Reuters.
Reuters? Oh. Peru researchers unveiled 10 million-year-old dolphin-like fossil found in desert. Okay, this is good to hear. So some prehistoric cetacean. Wow, that is a very well intact species of or dolphin specimen. I was thinking ichthyosaur for a second because a lot of ichthyosaur, so Jurassic marine reptile. Technically, you could say Cretaceous, Triassic. Um, well, large group of reptiles. The fossilized skeleton of a porpoise, a small marine mammal estimated to be between 8 and 12 million years old, is displayed after it was unearthed by Peruvian paleontologists in the Ucucaje Desert in Lima, Peru on September 17th. So, paleontologists in Peru, wait, I said that. Paleontologist Mario Urbino, who was part of the discovery, referred to the ancient site as a great hotel, explaining that coastal mountains created a barrier from strong currents, making it an ideal, calm place for marine animals to reproduce. The region was a sea for approximately 45 million years. Researchers from Peru's State Geological, Mining, and Metallurgical Institute noted that the discovery helps them understand the geography of the past. Now, the coastline has changed over millennia. Peru's deserts are considered a rich cemetery for ancient marine species, with a 9 million-year-old fossil of a great white shark relative found earlier this year. Prehistoric remains have also been found elsewhere in Peru in regions away from the coast. In April 2024, experts presented the fossilized skull of the largest known river dolphin, which inhabited what is now the Amazon about 16 million years ago. Hmm. I wonder what species of specifically river dolphin that is. Guessing the animal's going to be over what, 11 feet maybe? Just guessing. 16 million years ago. Hmm. They experienced a well, I don't know how large the animal is. I almost said a drop in size, but let's move forward to the next article. So from kgun9.com, Tuscan, young black bear relocated after wandering east side neighborhoods. What are you up to now? Hey, it's another one of those yeah, whatever they're using to help
Is
him.
he a tree bear?
Yes, yes, black bears are much more arboreal than uh brown bears in general. So, now Asiatic black bears are very arboreal. A young black bear is safe after spending the weekend wandering through several East Side Tuscan neighborhoods before falling asleep in a tree near Kolb and Broadway, the Tuscan Police Department announced in a social media post. So, this is over in Arizona. Well, this is are we going to see pictures? Oh, so they tranquilized him. Okay, so they're waiting for him to just fall. Woo! Okay, so he's a small one. Hope he packs on some more pounds. This looks like a pretty thin individual. Maybe it's a male.
Maybe it was a cub that just got lost.
Probably scavenging in the region. Tuscan police said they got calls about the bear late Saturday night and early Sunday morning. Around 2 a.m., Arizona Game and Fish officers asked for assistance in capturing a 2-year-old male who had climbed into an apartment tree to what? Tree to rest. Oh, okay. It was just in the middle of the area. Officers say the bear was tranquilized and safely caught as he fell from the tree. He was not hurt and has since been relocated to a new mountain home. Police Okay. So, yeah, I'm glad that he's been safely relocated. Hope you find some fresh, um, maybe some fresh berries and even more ants and termites to feed on, especially over in Arizona. It's far after, like per se, the mule deer and the elk herds in certain regions have given birth. I mean, that was back in late May and early June. And right now, it's actually the rut. So, um, he could probably scavenge a, like, gored up mule deer or elk, but besides that, um, hope he doesn't bum any wildfires. Okay, so from the Smithsonian Mag.com, amorous elk are looking for love across North America in an annual spectacle called the Rut. Okay, so, yeah, I just mentioned this. Is this from this year? If it is, that's a really healthy bull. Looks good. I wonder if this was taken over in some part of maybe Colorado? Well, this is saying Rocky Mountain National Park and, yeah, the famous Estes Park. So let's see. Um, in Colorado, the elk rut is in full swing. Reports KMGH TV Stephanie Butzer. Oh, in the northern part of the state, Rocky Mountain National Park has implemented seasonal closures to give the creatures some breathing room through the end of October. That's because Rocky Mountain National Park can get upwards of 2 million visitors each year. So, especially during the rut. Though I still see people, not in Rocky Mountain National Park, but in Yellowstone's pretty funny and people get spooked or they fall over because an elk just says, boo in deer terms. Anyway, and the town of Estes Park, located next to Rocky Mountain National Park's east entrance.
What's that sound like?
eh, I don't know. It's more of they just point their head down and person faints. Is gearing up for its annual Elk Fest from September 27th to 28th. I didn't know about this, which includes activities like wildlife viewing, educational presentations, and a bugling contest. Okay, I've heard of that. Those are funny to watch. It's more of everyone just gets their elk. Uh, I don't know. It makes you need another thing to go with it, and it makes an elk bugle. Anyway, so let's see. Um, let's see. The annual elk breeding season is also underway in Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee, North Carolina. Well, you're talking about a place with a population of what is it? Somewhere between 4 to 500 animals. There's not many over in the Smoky Mountains National Park, the Nantahala National Forest. They're spread out in within that region, but I'd say there's more over in Kentucky, Pennsylvania. But Also, many people think of Colorado when it comes to the elk, and that's probably because there's over, um, 210,000 of them in the state alone. Then you have in places like Utah, there's somewhere around 80 to, um, wait, I think I might be underestimating that. They could have as many as like 110,000 over in Utah. I think Montana's got somewhere around 180,000. And then they're all spread out into certain parts of like Alberta, British Columbia, possibly a little bit in Manitoba and Canada. And then pretty much all the West has elk, and then even certain parts of the Midwest. So let's see. Anything else happen? Okay, so Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, it's just talking about when they reintroduced them back in 2001. I thought it was 2002. Oh, there's only 270 of them? What am I thinking of? I must be thinking of a different population within the Appalachian Mountains because I thought it was way more than 270 elk. Did they die? I'm not sure. A few years ago, well, I could be thinking of like 2018 when, like, for the first time in what, over a century or more, that an elk from the North Carolina part of, I guess, Great Smoky Mountains National Park made it to like the Tennessee part. Really wasn't that a great of an accomplishment. It's just I think he went back. Anyway, I think it's happening or occurring a lot more often. Anyway, let's move forward from KTVQ.com. Two injured in moose encounter south of Red Lodge. So this is over in it's over in western Montana, but I think it's adjacent to like the northern Yellowstone ecosystem border. That's probably not a recent picture. A couple walking their dogs were injured in a moose encounter south of Red Lodge Thursday morning, according to Red Lodge Fire Rescue. A couple and their dogs encountered a cow, calf, and bull moose, all three. The cow moose chased the dogs, believed them to be a threat. That's annoying. And the two people were both injured, according to Red Lodge Fire. Wow. Well, yeah, it's the rut. I mean, okay, so both were taken to Beartooth Billings Clinic in Red Lodge for evaluation and treatment. No details were available about the extent of their injuries. Red Lodge Police Department, Carbon County Sheriff's Office, and Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks all respond to the incident. Let's see, FWP is responsible for the investigation. So Red Lodge Fire reminded. Okay, so uh, anything else? Image is not the moose involved in the incident. Well, also, this would take place much earlier in the year. At this point, the calves are going to be much larger. It's like he was born shortly beforehand. Okay, so let's see. Mm,
Is that it?
yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Um, yeah, I hope those people turn out fine. Their dogs, and also hope the male moose is able to breed with some female moose, and the calf makes it.
Okay,
Female
this one
moose has another
sounded
calf.
freaky to me.
Okay, so from discovermagazine.com. Spiders will hunt in groups and share meals if they have enlarged brain structures. Learn why a tiny fraction of spiders live in groups rather than go alone. Okay. Who's this guy? It's not hitting me. There's thousands of different species of spiders. Most spiders are known for being loners that keep to themselves, but in rare instances, some close knit spider communities rely on strength in numbers. From a young age, the spiders in these groups show selfless behavior, such as joining forces on hunts or sharing meals with one another. A new study published in Integrative Zoology suggests that these spiders get along so well partly because of what's inside of their brains. Researchers found that certain brain regions of social huntsman spiders and social crab spiders, both of which live in groups, display slight variations compared to spiders that live alone. The distinct structure of these regions may be the reason why some spiders develop strong social skills while others have a preference for privacy. I think more of just like, yeah, solitary existence. But This is interesting. I haven't heard of this before. It's quite new. If you ever find yourself peeling back the bark of a eucalyptus tree or a dedication tree in Australia, you could be in for a surprise that'll make you jump out of your shoes. You might want to keep your shoes on. Chances are you'll come across a hidden conclave of social huntsman spiders. Well, actually, here's the thing. Australia, I think, is a bit over. Um, mm, no, well, what I was going to say is I think it's you're much more likely in the United States to run into something like a dangerous, like a venomous snake or a spider than you are in Australia. It's actually a little, it's a little exaggerated when it comes to Australia. But drop bears do exist, which live in groups containing potentially hundreds of individuals. Not all spiders have grand get togethers like this. In fact, the behavior is extremely rare among spider species. Only 0.1% of the world's 53,000 spider species live in groups. Forgot there was that many. Most spiders are territorial and become aggressive toward others of their kind, even resorting to cannibalism at times. Social spiders, on the other hand, usually get along well with their kin. So it turns out that a mother's love helps to foster their more extroverted tendencies. Young social spiders experience an extended period of maternal care and have delayed dispersal, meaning they stay home longer after their first molt. These conditions seem to discourage them from eating their peers and encourage them to instead share their meals. So Um, that's great. There may be a deeper explanation for social spider communal lives, one that requires a look into their brains. Researchers involved with the new study sought to determine what could be so different about social spiders' brains that makes them more outgoing than solitary spiders. To accomplish this, they used a technique called brain staining, which allowed them to visualize multiple brain regions. Uh, Let me know in the comments if you've or chat if you've ever experienced this type of behavior with spiders. We use a complex staining process that fixes different tissues inside the brain, so you can see contrast between different structures.
Yes, we hope your children aren't eating each other.
Yeah. Without using staining that reacts to different tissues, everything inside the brain just looks gray. After completing the staining, the researchers produced images of the spider's brains with micro CT scanning. From these images, individual structures in the brain needed to then be mapped. Hold on a second. Okay, let's keep going. The study examined the brains of 6 species: social huntsman spiders, Delena concharitis, social crab spiders, Zyticus bimalcoludus, and 4 closely related solitary species. The researchers found that while the size of each species' brain and central nervous system was all similar, 2 social species had a few structural differences in certain regions. Social huntsman spiders had larger, accurate bodies and mushroom bodies, areas of the brain that play a role in memory and cognitive processing. These enlarged structures are possibly related to social huntsman behaviors like recognizing kin and group coordination. Wow. Okay, so there's a lot going on with the spiders. They're very, um, they're very observant within their own kin. Social crab spiders had similar cognitive regions to their solitary relatives, but had uniquely large visual processing areas. This may have to do with them living in low light leaf nests, where they will collectively target prey like beetles and ants. Researchers also found that social huntsman spiders have smaller venom glands than solitary huntsman spiders. Interesting. I would have expected maybe the opposite because they're by themselves, hinting at their reliance on cooperation. Because the social huntsmen share the prey, each of them only needs to use a little bit of venom to kill the prey. Creating venom is very energy expensive for them, so this makes all of the spiders in this species better off. The intricate brains of these spiders reveal how they socialize, but their significance may extend even further. Researchers suggest that this study could be a stepping stone to observing how brains influence social intelligence all across the animal kingdom. Okay. Well, this was really interesting to hear with how their communication is. Okay, well, let's move to the next article. Okay, so moving forward from phys.org, the European roots of Africa's giant predatory dinosaurs. I'm guessing this is referring to the Spinosaur family. So let's get into this. Yes, who do we have here? Cameralosaurus curagidai. That's a very good reconstruction. Studies of newly discovered fossils of the predatory dinosaur Cameralosaurus curugidai from Spain show that the giant bipedal spinosaurs from Africa apparently originated in Europe. An international team led by SNSB paleontologist Oliver Rahut, I think I've heard of this paleontologist, has now published these findings in the journal Paleontologia Electronica. Tyrannosaurus is perhaps the best known bipedal. What does he have to do with spine? Why do they always have to throw him in? Okay. In collaboration with Spanish colleagues, Rahut has now found new evidence that the gigantic spinosaurs had their roots in Europe. New finds in the re-examination of previously collected remains of the little-known predatory dinosaur Cameralosaurus curugudai from the Lower Cretaceous period, about 128 million years ago. Wow. Okay, so this was close to the same time as Spinosaurs like Baryonyx over in England. In Spain, show that this species is a close relative of the giant North African Spinosaurus. So that's would mean that this animal is a member of the subfamily of Spinosauridae, Spinosaurini, or I guess the whole family Spinosauroideae. So let's keep going. Camaralosaurus was found in the central Spanish province of Teruel. The fossil was originally classified as a ceratosaur. That happens with different species of theropod dinosaurs, technically any prehistoric animal in general. Originally, it's classified as a certain group, and then better excavation of the fossil, or what would it be? I guess maybe closer detail analysis, and it gets clarified as something else. Sometimes, though, it can be completely confused with something like a reptile or turtle, and then turns out to be a dinosaur, which happened a lot during the 1800s, even the early 1900s sometimes. So let's see. A group of predatory dinosaurs, little known in Europe, and whose occurrence in the lower Cretaceous of Spain would represent a find out of space and time. This interpretation was based on a few fragmentary remains described more than 10 years ago. Oh, okay, so there's a leg bone, I'm guessing. During a new excavation campaign at the original fossil site, Rahut and his colleagues from the University of Saragossa found more remains of the dinosaur, including fragments of the jaw, tail vertebra, and tooth, as well as a thigh bone and a foot claw. The new finds allow for the now published reinterpretation of the Spanish predatory dinosaurs family relationships.
Didn't you just say that was a thigh?
Yep. And there's a foot claw or toe bone, I'm guessing. We can't see it. For example, the paleontologist found common features between Camarillosaurus and other spinosaurs in the lower jaw bone. I would think so. That would be, I think, a bit better to mention or describe if we're looking at certain species of tyrannosaurs or maybe allosaurs, because the allosaurs are actually a very large family. It's not just Allosaurus. Because, like, if you're looking at certain species of tyrannosaur, some are going to be much more robust and also have distinct dental structures, whereas others might be very thin and narrow. So, also when you're looking at allosaurs, they could be quite different too. But it's just when it comes to the spinosaurs themselves, they're not a huge family of theropod dinosaurs, so there's not too much of like a um, yeah, I guess I mean there is you can detect like the difference in between like a baryonic skull or Suchomimus skull. You know what? I'm being overcritical. Never mind. Let's keep going. Our phylogenetic analysis indicate that various other representatives of the spinosaurids of the Iberian Peninsula are also on the evolutionary lineage leading to the North African Spinosaurids. We suspect that the giant predatory dinosaurs of Africa originated in Europe. Yeah, but we already found Baryonyx was living much earlier over in England, like somewhere between 130 and 135 million years ago. So why is this animal? Um, it's almost like they're making out like this was the first one. So remains of various spinosaurs, mostly teeth, are common on the Iberian Peninsula. Most of them embedded in continental deposits, including Cameralosaurus caracoididae. Researchers therefore assumed that the animals lived and hunted in a terrestrial environment. North African Spinosaurus, on the other hand, why did you lowercase his name? How dare you? Is more recently interpreted as a fish eater that spent most of his time in the water based on its anatomy. There are no finds from Spain to support this thesis as yet. Yeah, most Spinosaurs, if not all, are seen as partially at least fish eaters. And also, is there any more? Okay, if you look at the picture, that's a typical, somewhat Spinosaur skull. But what's interesting is
Looks
they
like a
gave,
bill.
yeah, well, I think they gave him lips, somewhat.
It
But
looks
yeah,
like a bill to me. It
yeah,
doesn't
it
look like
does
a
look
mouth.
like a somewhat pelican bill. So that's interesting. Maybe it had a more similar structure to a pelican. I don't think so, though. It's a good drawing, though. I mean, I do like the background with the conifers. And okay, well,
Okay, I don't remember if I had pulled this before, but
okay. So from Earth.com, scientists confirm new discovery of a new otter species. Whoa, whoa. Okay, there's only 13 species of otter. So if this is
so I
true,
didn't pull this before. Okay.
this is groundbreaking. For decades, wildlife guides said a single neotropical river otter species occurred from northern Mexico to northern Argentina. Fresh genomic work now shows that to be unlikely. Researchers have confirmed that what looks like one kind of otter is actually two distinct species across Latin America. The change reshapes maps, field manuals, and conservation plans. So, what changed in the otter map? Lead author Vera de Ferran from the Pontifical Catholic University of Rio Grande do Sul, along with colleagues, analyzed DNA from river otters. Samples came from Mexico, Central America, and South America. Their analysis separated the Trans Andes populations from those east of the mountain chain. Researchers looked at DNA from 29 authors and discovered that they fall into two very different groups. They suggest giving the Western populations a name and keeping the Eastern ones under the older name, which covers otters living in the Amazon, Orinoco, and Paraná River regions. The authors made it clear. The results show that otters living west of the Andes should be treated as a separate species, now called Lantra and Nectins. Like in Montosaurus and Nectins. That's interesting. Um, wow. Okay, this is amazing. I want to see this individual. Species boundaries guide how scientists count wildlife and how agencies protect it. When one widespread species turns out to be two, each part can face different pressures and needs its own specific management. Splitting a species also changes how we track recovery. If two smaller species replace one big one, national laws and local plans often need updates to match the new picture. The researchers used phylogenomics, a field that traces family trees using large sets of DNA and statistical models. A maximum likelihood tree from their data showed strong support for the view that the Trans Andes group sits apart from the Cis Andes group or Andes populations. They also used statistical tests to check the DNA patterns across other species. So I'm guessing this is occurring over in Peru and northern Argentina, possibly. They also use statistical tests to check the DNA patterns across otter species. One test showed that 35.5% from the genetic differences clearly separate the otters west of the Andes from the rest. That's a big difference. The another test split the Amazon otters from other eastern groups. Wow, so these wow, these species I'm guessing you're going to be seeing a lot of little dots when looking at the DNA. And they're going to be very widely separated from each other. So this is very interesting. To build that picture, the team captured thousands of ultra conserved genetic elements, short regions of the genome that change very slowly and anchor comparisons across species. Those elements let researchers gather many comparable markers from the samples. This method provides a reliable way to tell apart species that look almost the same. It works especially well for uncovering hidden diversity where different species cannot be identified just by appearance. The Andes are not just scenic mountains from, we know this. Oh, the range can act as a border. Let's see. This studies tree and clustering results track that barrier. So, like a gene barrier when it comes to the Andes Mountains, we're talking about elevations of over 18,000 feet. West of the Andes, the Mexican and Colombian animals form one cluster, while east of the Andes, Amazonian and southern groups sort differently. The newly named species Lontra and nectans lives in rivers and wetlands across Mexico and Central America. Okay, I was wondering where I thought this specific species that they found was over in um in South America and continues down the Pacific side of Colombia and Ecuador to the base of the Andes. On the other side of the mountains, the other species is found in the Amazon, Orinoco, and Paraná river systems. These ranges match river histories and watershed divides. They also line up with hints from skull shape and nose pad variation that earlier workers noticed but could not confirm at a species level. Today, the neotropical river otters listed as near threatened. Let's see. A formal species split will require new assessments and possibly separate management plans for the two lineages. Let's see. Is that it? Oh, sampling included 29 individuals spread across the full range. That spread matters because patchy sampling can produce misleading clusters, while broad coverage tests whether divisions hold across landscapes. The analysis used 30,205 variable genomic sites and reported high support for the branching pattern that isolates the trans Andes clade. In plain terms, the math behind the tree is solid and consistent across methods. So let's see. That's interesting. The paper labels the old single species concept as paraphyletic, meaning that the group has defined left out some descendants that belong together. In conservation genetics, that is a red flag that the name does not match the evolutionary story. Okay. Well, okay, I think we're done. Um, I'm glad that there's a new species of otter over in Mexico, Central America, and Northern and South America. Seems to have quite a large home range. I mean, river otters over North America do as well. Eurasian otters. Oh, one that has a very large home range is also the, who is it? The small clawed not the clawless otter. It's a specific one over in sub-Saharan Africa that's feeding on the penguins over in South Africa. So let's move to the next one from the independent.uk. Okay. Oh, so orcas attacked boat off Portugal coast for a third time in a week as four rescued. The crew were taken to the port of Cascais by a patrol boat after repeated strikes by killer whale on the vessel. Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery as why this is going on with the orcas. Some have tried to blame it on the overfishing of bluefin tuna, but that was really occurring during the 1970s, and bluefin tuna populations have actually been recovering since then. And so, one of their primary food sources isn't running out. There isn't a large population over by Spain and Portugal. There's somewhere around 37 to 50 orcas in the region, but they're spread out into like five different pods. Um, So now I wouldn't say the ecosystem is the greatest, but the bluefin tuna are recovering. That would mean the ecosystem isn't necessarily as bad as some people have been claiming. Four people were rescued from a boat off the coast of Portugal after the vessel was rammed by orcas. In the third incident involving killer whales in a week, Portugal's coastal and border control unit rescued 4 people from the boat on Monday after they were alerted to repeated strikes on its bow caused by killer whales. The incident took place near Costa de Caparica, which lies around 10 nautical miles from Lisbon. Lisbon. After calling for help, the crew were taken safely to the port of Cascais by a UCCF patrol boat. And it follows two previous collisions between orcas and boats off the coast of Portugal in the past week. So, National Guard went over. On Saturday, a tourist yacht carrying 5 people sank near Fonte da Tala,
And people are afraid of Jaws.
beach after being rammed by a pod of orcas. Well, the thing is, there are certain species of shark that like actively do feed on people, but these are much more common than the great whites, and great whites are also quite endangered. There's maybe somewhere between 5 to 8,000 of them. Yeah, let's see. So I guess these are the orcas that have been attacking the boats. It's possible that what happened was when no, it's just a guess, the orcas were younger, especially the matriarch, because they're led by the females, that she had a bad experience and she just started attacking the boats. And everybody else in the pods, because the male orcas will actually stay with the females for a long period. The mothers will actually take much better care of the males and or their sons than they will their daughters. But what's possible is that they just copied this is quite insane. They just copied the matriarch, and you have it where, a couple generations of orcas just instinctively attack boats. That's just a guess. I've seen it where other people are trying to claim that it's due to, hunting of orcas, but that was done, hundreds of years ago, and all of a sudden they've happened to do this. It just, that doesn't really make too much sense, so it's a big mystery. Footage shared by sailing company Mercedes-Benz Oceanic Lounge shows an orca repeatedly pushing into the side of a yacht before it sways and starts to sink, with a witness heard saying, "Oh my god." All 5 crew members were rescued from the Nautic Squad Club vessel by boat shortly before it sank. The Nautic Squad Club? Vessel. Oh, okay. A second encounter with the pod was recorded later the same day off the Bay of Cascais, with 4 people removed from their boat without injuries. Wow, I wasn't expecting it. I thought maybe some people got some bruises, unless that doesn't count. Portugal's National Maritime Authority said that it received an alert at 12:30 p.m. due to an interaction with orcas. It added, crews from the lifeguard station of Cascais and the captaincy of the port of Lisbon were immediately activated. Oh, Lisbon. Okay, I thought it was actually they were actually broadcasting it. It was past tense. So are these culprits? Okay, that's it. Yeah, for some reason, the past 4 to 5 years, there have been more of these attacks by orcas, so it's really odd. I think there were certain rare incidents like the 80s or the 90s, 1980s, 1990s, but this is odd. Just why they're doing it is a big question. But let's see. Yeah, go to the next one. So from the dodo.com, so hiker calls for help when he spots a strange looking kangaroo in national park. He couldn't believe it. Meet Sherman, a smart young sheep with a shocking story to tell. Okay. So months ago,
Sounded funny.
Sherman cheated death when he escaped a sheep farm in Australia, sneaking away to a neighboring national park. Well, you still have to deal with the dingoes unless he's in an area where, well, feral dogs and they're just not present. But All alone, Sherman learned to fend for himself, scavenging for food and finding his own shelter. Sure, this is a sheep? Doesn't sound like a sheep. Then one day, Sherman saw a person, their dog, walking through the bush. Oh, wow. It is a sheep. This is a rare sheep. The visitors noticed Sherman too, but they didn't immediately recognize him. They mistook him for a strange looking kangaroo. I guess you could assume that his dirty coat, looks somewhat like a Western gray kangaroo or maybe a red kangaroo. Okay, I don't know how from that angle, but it's definitely quite green in this area. The passerby eventually realized the animal's true identity and reported their sighting to rescuers at Edgar's mission. Sanctuary team members knew they had to do something. Uh, Solitude is no life for a flock animal. And a national park is no place for a hard-hoofed introduced wanderer. Wow. They rescued you, but they called you an invasive species. They're like, well, we're gonna rescue you, but we hate you too. Okay, so unfortunately, their first rescue mission was a bust. Sherman had a mental map of the entire area, and he managed to dart away from rescuers during each of their attempts. Well, yeah, I mean, okay, he's pretty much a feral sheep. He knew every escape route. Um,
Why does it look like somebody painted his face?
yeah, it looks quite shiny. Oh, then they finally got him here. You okay with? Mm. Oh, did they bring another sheep over to? Is this when they finally brought him to the rescue center? Yeah, that's annoying. Okay, so we scoped the area over many days, and just like Sherm, we charted a map with help from local park rangers. Okay, I've never heard of this much effort going into capturing a sheep in Australia. This is in Australia, right? Um, there's so many invasive animals in Australia, and it's like this one sheep, but he's special. We need help. Sherman. Vets for Compassion and a rescue sheep named Kansas. The Edgar's mission team members managed to contain Sherman and transport him to their farm. Wow. Sheesh. Today, Sherman is settling in at the sanctuary, slowly adapting to his new life of love and care. Okay, that teddy bear was terrifying for a second. I'm like, wait, at first I think it's another sheep, and I'm like, wait a second. Sherman is still learning and still finding trust, but his life will never again be ruled by fear or flight. Yeah, I don't think he was just like, no. Um, okay, because somewhere between his past and his future, between stimulus and response, we chose. And in that choice, Sherman found freedom. Okay, well, that was pretty funny with the fake kangaroo. Okay, from Bridgemy or bridgemichigan.com. New tool in fight against Great Lakes invasive species muskrats. Oh yeah, these individuals. They're invasive across much of the eastern US, possibly into the west too. And muskrat eat vegetation. Though I believe muskrats are somewhat native to the United States. Maybe they just have um certain overpopulated regions. Definitely the nutria is invasive. They're from South America. In the battle against invasive species, the common muskrat emerges as an unlikely hero. A new study in the journal Freshwater Science sheds light on these often overlooked rodents and their ecosystem altering behaviors and how humans might replicate their actions to combat invasive aquatic plants. Cattails are a familiar feature of Great Lakes wetlands, yet the dominant species is not native to the region. Oh, I didn't know that. The cattails, they're like these tall wetland plants and occasionally like looks like a sausage, at least towards the end of it. especially during the winter. The thing that's unique about invasive cattails compared to many of the other invasive plants that we see is that it's been present for over 100 years in the Great Lakes region. The Great Lakes has had quite a few invasive species, especially goldfish, have just infested the region. And so we have this perception that's the way these wetlands have always been. You look at a children's book, and there's the image of a cattail. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like tumbleweeds over in Southern California. Tumbleweeds were introduced to California from Russia back in the late 1800s. So they're actually native to certain parts of Russia, not like the Mojave Desert.
Oh, I always thought they were from here because they used to put them in old westerns.
Westerns, cartoons, like Looney Tunes, and the truth is they're not supposed to be here. Invasive cattails and other interlopers crowd out native plants, reducing biodiversity. Well, a better thing to say would just simply be that they're causing problems for when it comes to shelter, food for the other organisms in the region, and even like how the water is absorbed and just the soil chemistry. Enter the muskrat at approximately 2 feet in length from snout to tail and weighing just under 5 pounds. These semi-aquatic herbivorous mammals construct lodges out of vegetation, burrow into riverbanks for shelter. In the creation stories of the Great Lakes Ojibwe, okay. Let's see. Scientists from the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians collaborated with Lichawa and others on the muskrat study, which Lishawa said was inspired by years of observing muskrats alter their environment. Their study site in Munuskong Marsh, located in Chippewa County in the eastern Upper Peninsula, the researchers used drones to identify muskrat lodges and measure the vegetation surrounding them. Found that muskrat activity successfully removed the cattails and another invasive plant called European frogbit. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought maybe there's certain species of frogbit that are from here. I'm not sure. The muskrats were creating these openings that had lower plant density. They're reducing the invasive plant dominance around where they're active. Good. In the open spaces left behind, native aquatic flora was able to reestablish itself. The muskrat's engineering prowess warrants consideration for ecosystem management. Of course, not every wetland area has muskrats. In fact, the muskrat population in North America is declining. That's odd. I wonder why. I've always seen them as very common, even though technically I'm not even sure if
People eating them.
I've seen one. Yeah, it's possible, but that's weird. What you want to eat a muskrat? Seriously. Scientists
Why do
aren't
people eat squirrels?
Yeah, I find that odd too. Um, Scientists aren't entirely sure of the reasons why, but habitat loss and water level control could be factors. A 2017 study examining historical muskrat harvest data in the United States noted substantial population declines between 1970 and 2012, with some states experiencing muskrat reductions of over 90%. Why? Is a disease flowing through? Or bad habitat and it's having a very negative effect on them? I always saw them as kind of adaptive, but am I confusing them with another rodent? That's odd. Aisha and the research team investigated how alternative human-based forms of invasive plant control stacked up against the muskrats. Wanted to see if we could enhance or recreate that sort of impact that the muskrats have on these wetlands through mechanical means. These muskrat disturbance analogs, or MDAs, included underwater weed whackers and herbicides targeting the cattails and European frogbit. That's what I'm wondering. Are these invasive plants, which they have a big impact on many animals, are they causing it? So let's see. Both muskrats and MDAs were effective at reducing invasive plant biomass. However, the researchers noted some differences in muskrat versus human handiwork. For example, muskrats provided the added benefit of acting as wetland janitors, cleaning up the dead plant material that acts as fuel for cattail incursions. Muskrats were also more effective than MDAs at reducing European frogbit. Leishwa said he hopes that future research will expand on the study's finds, perhaps by investigating more wetland sites and observing how muskrat population changes impact the Great Lakes. These are sort of like lowly creatures. So it's really good to hear that the muskrats are having a big impact on the invasive species, especially the cattails and the frogbit occurring within the region. But they definitely do need help with that. So hopefully, hmm, or maybe just a bit more research has to be done as to why they're declining. So I guess we can go on to the next one. Okay, from starnewsonline.com. More than barely existing. Ah, ah. Why black bears are thriving at the NC coast. Well, there's a lot of cropland, but yeah, it's very plentiful and also, I think berries as well for them. They're um, that's Asheville. That's in Western North Carolina. That's not too far from the Smoky Mountains. That's not Eastern Carolina. There's 45 of them. Okay, so let's see. Do what? On the coast, and yeah, you have bottlenose dolphins feeding on a wide variety of different species of fish. But they'll create mud rings around them to confuse and trap the fish, and sometimes they'll just simply push them onto the banks. Uh, let's see. What is that? It? No, hold on. Uh, no. Yeah, let's just go to something else. Yeah, there are. Yeah, saying more than half are in the eastern part. I'd say it's probably close to spread out somewhat evenly when it comes to the black bear population in North Carolina, and more are traveling down to South Carolina because they don't have very large populations. Might be around like 3 to 4,000 in the state. So, moving forward, okay, another one from ADN.com or Anchorage Daily News. What to know about Fat Bear Week and the Brawny Bruins battling for the title? What's a cub? Oh, number 26 male cub at Katmai National Park and Preserve in Alaska on September 13th. Well, he's gaining some weight. He looks healthy. Uh, the Brawny Bruins on the Alaska Peninsula are ready to brawl it out to see which will win this year's fattest bear title in the wildly popular annual online voting contest known as Fat Bear Week. The main event featuring adult bears starts next week. But first up, um, Thursday is what the National Park Service calls a chubby cubby appetizer. What is that? Fat Bear Junior voters can cast ballots through Friday for their favorite adolescent Ursine bear, Ursine, with the winner advancing to the big show. So it's over in southern Alaska, west of um, this is west of Anchorage. Oh, this might be one of the live cams. So this no, this isn't live. It's yeah, it's later and isn't it later? Or is it earlier? Is it earlier? It's well, it could be two well it's 8:32 there. Wouldn't it already be dark though? Is it a night camera? Yeah, you're still going to be having salmon runs occurring at this time of year. Like all the way into possibly, late November, early December. So yeah, they're getting bigger.
Yeah, that bird just doesn't care.
Yeah, a seagull. Oh, there's a cub further up. Hmm.
There's ducks too.
Contest, which began in 24.
What am I seeing go across the screen? Is that a duck?
No, it's another seagull.
No, no. Right there. He just went off the screen.
Oh, I don't know if that's a duck or it could be. I'm not entirely sure. So let's see. The contest, which began in 2014, is meant to showcase the resiliency of the brown bears which back on the pounds each fall to survive the harsh winter by gorging on salmon at Brooks River, remote Katmai National Park and Preserve. So this is where the famous short waterfall occurs, where you see all of the bears standing along, and sometimes even moose will occasionally walk in that specific area. But yeah, it's only this specific place that has that distinct overlook. I mean, you can have it in certain parts of like southeastern Alaska and much larger waterfalls. Usually towards the base, you might see like black bears or brown bears waiting for salmon. Did anything happen? Okay. So, also, it seems like the sockeye salmon run has been doing really well this year. So, this is one of the 5 different species of salmon over that come to Katmai National Park's different tributaries or river systems. 12 bears, which will be announced Monday, will be featured in the single elimination bracket style tournament. All voting is done online at www.fatbearweek.org, with the winner declared September 30th. So go vote on Fat Bear Week. The first round features 8 bears squaring off in 4 separate contests to advance to the second round. 4 bears receive first round buys. There are about 2,200 brown bears within Katmai, a 6,562 square mile park on the Alaska Peninsula, or what, 12,000 square kilometers, which extends from the state's southwest corner toward the Aleutian Islands. To be featured in the contest, the bears must frequent the area of the main Brooks camp. Wow. So, um, oh, they have to be from that specific small area. Wow. Okay, because there's a large area in Katmai where they fish. Also, you might see occasionally further inland, like caribou show up, certain herds. So, Grazer, the winner of the 2023 Fat Bear Contest at Katmai National Park, Alaska on September 14th, 2023. Oh, he looks good. He still is going to put on more weight. He's not finished. Actually, weighing the bears would be a dangerous and monumental task, so it's up to voters to judge size by looks alone. Male brown bears at Katmai weigh about 700 to 900 pounds midsummer and can bloat to over 1,000 pounds by September or October. It can get bigger. They can get much bigger than that, thanks to successful foraging. A 1,200 pound male bear isn't unusual at Katmai. Others have been estimated to be about 1,400 pounds. Females are half to two-thirds the size of adult males. Yeah, that makes more sense for a 700-pound female to show up. But males, I'm like, that's a small individual. Not all about the fatness. Well, this is towards like June. They look like this. He doesn't have a lot of weight on. Whoa, hold on a second. What? This image provided by the National Park Service shows bear 504 at Katmai National Park in Alaska on September 16th, 2024. This animal, this individual has got to figure out, some specific food source to pile the pounds on much
He's gotta hit a McDonald's.
much more frequently. Yeah, that could slow him down. Let's listen, just don't go to the Panda Express because you think it's, your people. It's not. They're not your people. Okay. There are factors other than girth to consider. Voters could consider the challenges some contestants and no Black Bear Diner. Voters could consider the challenges some contestants have had to overcome, such as the multitasking females.
Wait, he might like Black Bear Diner. Pancakes and syrup?
Oh, yeah, I guess he could. Hopefully, because Kodiak pancakes. He's gonna have trouble eating that. I gotta be honest. Those pancakes make you not want to donate to brown bear conservation. They're that hard to eat. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. They're I care about the bears, but anyway, such as the multitasking females who protect their young and produce milk for the cubs while also fattening up for winter themselves. There's precedent for for a mama bear to take the prize. Grazer, the two-time defending Fat Bear Week champion, beat one of the biggest bears in the Brooks River chunk in last year's final. Who is Chunk? Even though the contest is virtual, The two bears did actually fight it out in the park months earlier. Well, this is probably actually quite brutal. 'Cause I'm thinking in the fall, actually, fall, even when they have all of their weight piled on, they will still have a pretty dramatic fight. It's funny to watch though, but it's kind of gruesome. No, they're not really fighting over much. Chunk attacked one of Grazer's cubs. Oh, I might have seen this after it fell over a waterfall. Was this year? No, wait, no, it might have been this year. An attack that was broadcast live. Grazer fought off Chunk, but the cub later died. Oh, Chunk adapts to a newly broken jaw. So I'm guessing he's an older bear. Yeesh. Okay. Chunk is back at the park this year, but returned to Brooks River in June with a broken jaw. The right side of his jaw is hanging loose and will never heal properly. Probably happened in a fight with another bear. When they attack each other, they target the head and neck, since sometimes they lock jaws. The torque can snap a brown bear's mandible. Good news for Chunk is that he's already adapted to his new disability, and it doesn't seem to have affected his appetite. Remains one of the largest bears on the river. Wow, that's quite remarkable. Exceptional salmon run equals fat bears. This is probably much earlier in the year. Looks like a female with her cubs. Cubs 803 at Katmai National Park and Preserve in Alaska on July 19th, 2025. So it's earlier this summer. Well, Brooks Falls is famous for brown bears snagging salmon out of the air as the fish try to jump upstream to get to their spawning ground. That didn't happen much this year, as the exceptional salmon run reduced the need for bears to compete for fishing spots at the falls. At least the times that I was watching, I guess I didn't really notice this as much because there tend to be like different incidents where there was fights occurring. Um, Not really relevant fights. Like, I mean, technically, it was like a male going after a female. So that didn't happen much this year, as an exceptional salmon run reduced the need for bears to compete for fishing spots at the falls. That did, but I think there were more frequently male fights. It's more of just pushing one. The larger one would push the smaller one further down the river and then just slowly come back. We're kind of expecting really to have some of the fattest bears we've ever seen in the event. Fat Bear Jr. Mm. Cub 128 on September 13th, 2025. So this is a couple days ago, a few days ago. And below in June. Wow. He's in good shape in both pictures. What is he? Oh, he's just
Is he
walking on the
running
log.
circles on a log?
I don't know how he would run circles on it, but
The log spins.
oh, that. Okay. Yeah. Seems that way. Pet Bear Jr. is going to have a familial feel to it this year. In one semifinal Thursday, Club 128 Jr. will face off against a pair of Cubs competing together. Cub 128 Jr. is the offspring of two-time champ Grazer and sibling of the bear killed by Chunk last year. Wow, Chunk, okay.
Whoever came up with this idea is great.
She will face the 803s, Cubs from Bear 803. They are known for being mischievous, trying to get into vehicles and boats. Oh, wow. Huh. I've seen them walking by vehicles and boats over in Katmai, but not breaking into them, because you just constantly think it's just salmon on their mind or grasses, crabs, fruit, fighting other bears. And this is
Well, if someone has some Danish,
uh, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I'm thinking of no, I might be thinking Kodiak Island. Kodiak Island, they'll go after mountain goats that have been introduced there. The other semifinal pit siblings from the same spring litter of bear 26. 26 female is smaller and lighter in color than her brother. 26 male and a little more subdued. The male is bolder than his sister. Hope so, which might give him an edge if food is limited. Oh, is that it? Wait, so who won? Oh, it hasn't been yeah, it's September 30th. Okay. Wow. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this stream. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to a Friday edition of Creature Guide Live. And remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.